My name is Wasima Juman and I'm from Mauritius. It's a small island in the Indian Ocean by Madagascar. So what brought me to Stu was kind of like, I would describe it as destiny or faith. I don't know, like I don't really kind of believe in those, but I kind of believe too. So when I was done school, I was kind of looking for a university that would give scholarships so that I can go abroad. And then one day I met a lady, and then we were talking, and then she mentioned Stu. She was like, Stu usually gives good opportunities and everything. But at that point in time, I was like, everyone says the same stuff, but then you don't really get it. So what's the point? So I was like, meh. And then my mom, being my mom, was like, you need to apply to it. I was like, yes, mom, I'm gonna do it. And then every day she kept pestering me. She was pestering me. And then she was like, did you apply? I was like, fine, mom, I'm gonna sit down and apply for it. So I actually sat down and applied for it and wrote all the letters. But in my mind, I was like, I don't know, we'll see. So one day I got the acceptance letter, and then there was a section was for any scholarship, see enclosed letter. Look for the letter, didn't see the letter. So at this point I was like, whatever, I give up. So I started working, got a job and everything. And then 2 weeks later, I got a mail that actually changed my life. I got the mail that said that I got a big scholarship. Instead of paying the international tuition fee, I paid the Canadian tuition fee. So it was a really big scholarship. So I decided, I was like, oh, here comes the moment. It was my first time traveling by myself away from home. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just gonna go with it. So yeah, and then happened to be here at Stu, and it's been, my second year, so it's been more than a year, and I really love it, and I couldn't imagine myself being in another big university. I love how close-knit Stu is.
I wanted to go to a prestigious, elite liberal arts school that was small, because in the United States, if you're really smart and you really care about your education, that's kind of the way you do it. I applied to a bunch of schools in the States. I had a really competitive application as well, because for most of my high school degree, that's what you need to be. You need to be a holistic student to get into those schools. So super high marks, lots of advanced placement courses, but also really involved with volunteerism. I was the vice president of my entire school. I worked with lobbying the government. I did a ton of stuff in high school with the expectation that I was going to go to one of those really prestigious schools, and that was my plan. I didn't know what I wanted to do though, but I knew I wanted to do liberal arts. I had a really influential teacher who kind of said, you'd be really good at this. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna give that a shot. And then my senior year was just the worst year of my life ever. Just a lot of bad things happened, and I basically kind of gave up. I sent in my applications because I still had that was before things really went down the gutter, but there was just a load of things that happened, and my mental health just took a nosedive, and I just was oh well, none of this matters. I don't want to go to university very much. So I ended up applying to Stu later, right before the deadline, because I had gotten all my acceptances back from the other schools, and my mom had been we can't afford this, and we're especially not going to put so much. We're not going to put $250,000 into a liberal arts degree, where you're going to have to go do, and that was really difficult for me, because I was no, this is my dream, and I just didn't care much about anything. So Stu's really good at reaching out to students on an individual level to sort of recruit them in, and I loved the campus, and the price was right for Stu, and so it was kind of this economical decision I had to make. And there's such a culture in the United States about, you need to go to the who's who of universities, especially if you're undergraduate. People really care that you're going to a name brand, and then people would ask me where are you going, and I would be St. Thomas University, and they're I've never heard of that before. In my second year, did moot court, really loved it. Found this, I'm so passionate about it. It's funny because it makes, and on one hand I feel like a bad person when I'm doing it, because you're always making arguments that you might not believe, and you have to make them so convincingly, and other people are wow, you're right, and in your head I'm I'm not right, this feels slimy, that kind of thing. But on the other hand, it's such a helpful thing as a person, and for me it's really guided what I want to do with my life, which now I know is law. And from that I met a couple girls, and we were all kind of interested in international law, so then we spent 6 months in a room every Friday writing this international law brief that was never we were going to apply for the international moot court, and I was we're not even going to get it, but it's worth a shot, and this will be fun. So we formed like a little international law society at STU, and we applied, and then in May we got the news back that we were one of the top 5 briefs in the world, or 25 in the world and 5 in our region, and I was like, oh my god, Stu and I have this mutual relationship. So like I come here, Stu gives me great opportunities, and I also get to help Stu out.
I went to a small school in a small town with lots of old conservative people, and a lot of the stuff I did in high school revolved around the Gay Straight Alliance and queer rights activism. Probably another reason I was drawn to STU, because I knew that Fredericton had a really big queer community, and so does STU. I did lots of activism in high school, which got me scholarships into STU, and then I kind of continued that work once I got here. In my first year, the queer community here is super welcoming, and they brought me in and introduced me to all these different people in the community, but there wasn't a society at STU for queer students. So in my second year, myself and Oliver and another student started the Queer and Allied People Society. Well, I just got the Red Cross Young Humanitarian Award for New Brunswick, and I was nominated basically because of all the things I was just talking about. So I was nominated originally in high school by the Department of Education's anti-bullying coordinator. He just found out that I was receiving the award in the summer. I was really surprised because I didn't know the nominations carried over, because I would have been nominated 4 and 5 years ago now. I was originally nominated for the work with the Gay Straight Alliance at my school that I did, and also I worked with the Department of Education to try to get more inclusive curriculum, like mandatory curriculum, into the schools, and I lobbied the Department of Education for a anti-homophobia and transphobia policy. So that's why I was originally nominated. And then they also were a fan of the work that I've been doing at STU with the Queer and Allied People Society. And also one of the main things we've been trying to focus on is collaboration and reaching out into the community. So we do things like we will take a Q&A delegation to events like, I think the first event we did that for was the Refugees Welcome Rally. So I think it's really important for us to have a presence in the community, and there's so many different intersecting parts of anybody's identity. So like for the Refugees Welcome Rally, we thought it would be important to have a delegation from the Queer and Allied People Society, because it just shows new people coming in, like new immigrants and refugees, that there are resources here for them. It was really awesome. I was really honored to receive the award, and I think it's really good for visibility for the queer community and for activists, and to sort of keep it in people's minds that there's still a lot of work to be done for the queer community